Welcome back to the Full-Time Wedding Pro podcast. My name is Peyton Helm. My friends, hello. How are you doing on this lovely Tuesday afternoon? I am here, and I'm going to be talking about how to stop getting ghosted. So in this video / podcast episode, I have seven things that I want you to follow if you feel like you are getting ghosted more than usual. So a couple things before we dive in. Number one, hi, my name is Peyton Helm. If you're a wedding photographer or filmmaker, this is the podcast for you. We dive into all things marketing, advertising, sales, pricing, all of the fun stuff, how to grow your wedding business. That is what we talk about on this podcast. If you're new here, welcome. I love seeing your face. Hopefully you love seeing my face if you're watching on YouTube or on Spotify, or if you're just listening. Hey, what's up? If you're loving the content in this podcast, drop me a rating and review, please. That'd be great. And subscribe if you would like. And real quick before we dive in as well, I wanted to mention that the podcast is sponsored by my coaching program, Full-Time Wedding Pro, where I personally will help you scale your wedding business. If you're a wedding photographer or filmmaker, you're part-time, full-time, and got a good portfolio, and you want to scale to six figures, multi-six figures, whatever you want to go to, and you want to do it with raising your prices, nailing down your branding, only working with dream clients, and automating your marketing, my friend, I can help you do it. Go to fulltimeweddingpro.com or click the link in the description if you want to find out more about the program, learn more about it, and eventually book a call and all that fun stuff. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into how to stop getting ghosted. I want to preface this a little bit by saying this past year so far, like mid 2023 all the way to now, I've been saying this for a little bit. This past year has been one of the more defining years of the wedding industry, at least since I've been rocking. And listen, I started in 2018, so I'm a baby compared to some people here listening. But I saw how everything was great in 2018, 2019, early 2020, and then COVID really just shook things up. And then we had like a crazy boom in 21 and 22, and 23, it kind of like went back down to like pre-pandemic-ish, and then like it just kind of tanked from there. And I hear this all the time because I'm on sales calls constantly with people for the program, coaching calls to people in the program. And if you've just been relying on referrals or social media and you're not getting a lot of inquiries in, your inquiries probably have tanked. Let's just talk about that. You're getting less inquiries usually. And then also you're getting ghosted more and more and more. And the sad thing about that is when you get more ghosted, you're like, okay, should I lower prices? Or am I good enough? Am I charging too much for like the style of photography I have? Am I not good enough? Is my area too saturated? And you can really start to bog yourself down a little bit and start really feeling like you're a failure. And I don't want you to feel like that, my friends, because really and truly, this is just a numbers game. And we're going to dive into that in this episode. And then also like with running ads, a big part of my coaching program, I teach advertising, as you guys know. And I've seen this a lot over the past several months is like, when students start running ads, they get all these leads and then they get ghosted by a lot of these leads because they don't really have a really solid follow-up and sales strategy. And I say this a lot in the program. I say, listen, when you guys start running ads, it is really going to shine a super bright light on your sales process and your follow-up process. So if those things are not really nailed down and really working well for you, you will be wasting a lot of money on ads. So like get that stuff right, which is kind of how I structured my program out anyway. But so in this video, I'm taking this because I've helped several students in the program, whether like we get on phone calls or coaching calls rather, and I look at their sales, like their consultation calls, or I look at how they're following up with leads after they get the inquiry, and we fix it. We work on it and we fix it, and then they're happy and it's great. So I wanted to take some of the things that I talk about on those coaching calls and in the coaching program in general and speak to it for you guys who are not in the program, but you're still dealing with getting ghosted. So I want to go through the 7 things here. And like I said, if you guys like this, feel free to subscribe to the podcast, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and leave a rating and review. All right. So I'm going to get a drink and we're going to dive in. So number 1, I want you guys to recognize that you will get ghosted. So obviously the title of this is how to stop getting ghosted. That will never happen. You will get ghosted. Couples ghost, photographers ghost. I get ghosted by way more photographers for the program than I do couples. So, there you go. Everybody ghosts. In my opinion, it's fairly rude. I try to not ever ghost people if I end up not hiring somebody for a service. But it happens. We're busy. and people are busy and they ghost. So you will get ghosted. What I want you to understand is it is truly a numbers game. Okay. So you might think that you have a problem with getting ghosted when you look at all of your numbers and you're like, okay, well, I had this many leads come in, I converted this many to a consult call, and I closed this many, right? And then you compare that to other people who are doing really, really well. What you might find, and this isn't going to be the case for everyone, but what you might find is you actually don't really have a ghosting problem at all. Your numbers are very normal. Like, for reference, me personally, from my wedding business, I will get on the phone about 30% of my total inquiries. I've talked to people who make several, like hundreds of thousands of dollars in their wedding business, and they're getting in really good leads, and they're only getting 10 to 20% of those leads on the phone, right? From inquiry to phone call, only 10 to 20%. I'm at 30%. I've got students in the program who hover. Sometimes they're a little bit more, sometimes they're a little bit less, right? So if you're falling in that range of anywhere from 20, 30, 40%, you don't really have a problem. You might think you do, and I know it sucks too, especially if you're not getting a lot of inquiries. That's a different story. That's not a follow-up problem. That's a marketing problem. But if you're getting inquiries in and you're getting 20, 30% of those people on the phone minimum, you're doing okay. Like, you're doing fine. However, if over a month span or longer, if you're only getting 5, 10% of your leads on the phone, that's a problem. That is definitely a problem. Now, I'm not saying that even if you have a 20 or 30%, call to lead ratio, that you shouldn't do anything, because of course, like who wouldn't want to get more? Like, who wouldn't want to get more of their inquiries on the phone, right? So number one really is just, I want you to recognize that you will get ghosted, and it is just a numbers game. It does not reflect your worth. It does not reflect the quality of your photos. It doesn't usually reflect your price either, because a lot of you aren't showing pricing until the phone call, right? So if you are showing pricing before the phone call, it's a little bit different. We can talk about it. But in general, it is just a numbers game, and it doesn't reflect your quality as a person. Okay. So what I want you to do moving forward is take note of how many inquiries you get and how many of them are jumping on the phone with you. And if you're falling in that 20 to 30% range, just be aware that that's not that bad. Obviously you can improve it, but it's not a problem. It's only a problem if you're down like 5, 10% and you're only getting 1 out of every 10 inquiries on the phone. That's a bit of a problem. You definitely need to fix that. So that's number one, is just recognize you will get ghosted, and then it's just a numbers game. So number two, let's get into some tactical things that you can do to up that conversion rate. Number two is respond to your inquiries with email and text immediately and get a call booked ASAP. You might think that you're doing this immediately, but in reality, you're probably not. When I say immediately, and I tell my students this in the program, I say, I want you, when you get an inquiry, if you're really taking this seriously and your goal really is to get as high of a conversion rate as possible, I want you to respond within 10 minutes. That's the goal. And do it through email and text. Why text, Peyton? Why not just email? Because email historically has always had horrible deliverability rates, especially if you use something like Honeybook or Tave or whatever, because they're a CRM. It's an automated email thing, right? So Google, right? Gmail, that's what everybody uses. They filter those quite a bit. And a lot of times your emails will go to spam. So couples could follow up with you, and if you just email them, odds are they probably won't see it. That's just kind of how it works. Or they're like me and they have 41,659 emails in their inbox. So also don't at me for how many emails I got. I have a few different emails. All right. But there are people like me and they get emails constantly all day, every day, and yours will just blend in. Right. But if you text them, so you ask for their phone number on the inquiry form and you text them, you will have a much, much, much higher open rate for your first messages. Okay. So respond with email and text immediately and get that call booked ASAP. And I have a whole script on different ways to do this in the program, but in general, your goal should be to follow up with them immediately and immediately get a call booked. All right. Whether that is doing it over text or sending them some type of booking link, it doesn't matter. Get them on the phone ASAP, because every single text point that you have in that conversation is another point for them to ghost you and jump off and hire another photographer. I've heard stories from my students in the program where they wait a little bit, or maybe they do follow up immediately, and then they text them and they don't immediately get on the phone call. And then they're like, the couple's like, oh, I hired somebody else. Like within just a couple days. This happens. Your couples are probably talking to other people, right? So when you get that inquiry, get them on the phone same day if you can, if not next day, or at minimum 48 to 72 hours out. Get them on the phone as soon as possible. Okay. So we'll talk about a different way to do this too, but I wanted to just like hit that home really hard. Respond with text and email immediately and get them on the phone. Number 3 is change up your opening text. All right. So at this point, I'm going to assume you're texting them and you're following my instructions. So number 3 is to change up your opening text. Now I've seen people send a super long opening text where it's like, yo, what's up, Sarah? I got your inquiry. I'm super excited to talk to you. I'm free on your date. Your venue looks absolutely beautiful. Oh, the vibe that you're going for is fantastic. Oh, your budget is on point, blah, 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 blah. And then the couple reads that and then they're like, no. But on the flip side, some couples read that and they're like, yes, I love this. This is amazing. And you get an amazing response from it. I don't know what your couples would rather have. So you need to figure that out for your brand. But change it up. Don't just send the same thing over and over and over again because you don't know what could work better. It's all about testing, right? So in the past, I have sent those long text messages. More recently, I've been doing shorter text messages and literally just saying like, yo, what's up? It's Peyton. Is this person? Or, what's up? First name, this is Peyton or whatever. And then starting the conversation that way because you get a little bit better of an open rate and a response rate, at least for my couples. But your couples could be different. So I know photographers and filmmakers who they send those long first messages and they do really well. And then I've seen people who do that and they don't. So test it out. Change up your opening text constantly, but also keep track of what works and what doesn't work, and then hone in on the things that work for your ideal clients. So that is number 3. Number 4, test different sales pipelines. Okay. So, and I want to preface this too. I probably should have said this at the very beginning. When I say getting ghosted, I mean getting ghosted before the call and after the call. Like the consultation call where you're showing pricing and all of that stuff, right? You're getting ghosted before then or after then. I'm speaking to both of those in this video. So what I mean by this is testing different sales pipelines. Basically, a sales pipeline is it's the different stages that your inquiries go through when they fill out your contact form. Okay. So for reference, one of the most popular sales pipelines in the entire industry for wedding photography and filmmaking is inquiry. They get sent to like a little thank you, like, hey, thanks for inquiring, whatever, I'll text you. And then they get a text message and then they get on the phone where you show pricing. And then after that, they book you or you follow up and they book you. That's a very, very standard sales pipeline for our industry. That's a sales pipeline I've ran for a long time. And it works. It can work for some people better than others, but it works. A different sales pipeline could be inquiry form. They fill it out. And then they immediately book a call with you through like a Honeybook form or a Calendly form, something like that. And then you text them or email them or both, ideally. And then you talk to them, right? Another sales pipeline could be they inquire, you text them, show them pricing on some type of pricing guide or whatever, and then get them on the phone. There's a lot of different ways that you can structure your sales and your follow-up pipeline. So my advice to you is test different ones. If for reference right now, it's just for you, it's like the inquiry and then you text them and you get them on the phone and you're not getting good results from that, at least like, judging by data, not judging by feelings. If you have a low conversion rate, then change it up, right? Like do inquiry to booked call page where they book a call with you and then text them. Show pricing before the call, show pricing, or maybe hold off until showing pricing if you're doing that right now, until you get them on the phone, right? So that way you're changing up a little bit of your sales process. So that's my advice for number 4 is test different sales pipelines and see what works best for you. Every brand is a little bit different. Every ideal client is different. So figure out what works best for you and then go all in on that one thing. Now, number 5 is monitor lead quality. Okay, so this gets a little bit more into marketing and advertising, which I've got plenty of videos on if you want to go back through my YouTube or, podcast episodes if you want to go back through and listen to it on Spotify or Apple Podcast. But for reference, if you have a really, really solid sales system, for like you're getting referrals, for example, from planners or venues or something, and every single couple that goes through those avenues, they're doing well. They're booking you. They're not ghosting you. It's great. You have a good sales process, but then you start running ads and it's not as good. What can you do? You need to monitor where your leads are coming from, right? Because leads, inquiries in general, so lead, inquiry, same thing. If you're getting inquiries from the Knot, for example, and you're higher priced, a lot of them are going to ghost you no matter what because they're low quality leads usually. If you're running ads and you're running a discount or an engagement giveaway and you're pricing at like $5,000 or more, those leads are going to ghost you when they see your starting rate or your full pricing because they're out of budget, right? So you need to monitor your lead quality. This plays a huge, huge, huge factor in this. So how can you do that? Well, you can extend your inquiry form to be a little bit more restrictive on the types of couples that you work with. And these are small things, right? Like only accepting a certain type of venue or style, going all in on brand messaging and knowing who you're speaking to. There's a lot of stuff that you can do here that go beyond the scopes of this one video. But I've got other videos, like I mentioned, on this topic with branding and sales and marketing and things like that. What I found best that works really, really well for me as far as getting high quality leads in are really hyper targeted ads that are going for an extremely specific type of client. So that's number one. Number two, SEO, specifically, like usually when you're high ranked for different things, whether it's blog posts or your overall website, those leads are very high quality because they're learning through your entire website. They're diving into your content. And they've seen, especially if it's starting rate, they see that on your website. Referrals obviously are fantastic. And then social media, as long as, again, you are really leaning into high value branding on your socials. Okay. Now, number 6 is to set expectations on your website. Okay. So this can be really small stuff. Like on your thank you page, after they inquire, you can say, hey, I'm going to text you, I'm going to email you, and we are going to schedule a phone call. So that way they expect it. If you're not using video on your website, you could use video on your thank you page or on your sales page, or even on just your homepage on your website, just to showcase a little bit more of your personality. But you want to set the expectations, and you can do that on the contact form, or you can do it on your contact page or your thank you page and say, hey, thank you so much for inquiring. I am going to text you and we are going to get on the phone. Like just setting those expectations, that little tweak can do a whole lot for making sure you're not getting ghosted, because if a couple doesn't know that you're going to reach out to them over text, they might not expect it and they might think you're spamming them. So set the expectations, make sure they know to watch out for a text and an email from you. That is number 6. And finally, number 7, this is probably arguably the most important, is follow up constantly. Okay. So if this is before a consultation call, what I would recommend you do is obviously text them immediately. If they don't respond, wait a day, text them again, then wait 3 or 5 days, text them again, and then every single week until they tell you, I have hired someone else, or please stop texting me, or they block your number. I am ruthless on follow-up. Those of you who have talked to me for the program, you know this. I will follow up with you until one of us passes away, or unless you say like, hey, whatever, I'm booked, or I don't want to join, or whatever it is. So I want you guys to be ruthless on follow-up. The reason why is because people are busy, okay? Just because somebody ghosts you doesn't necessarily mean they don't want to hire you. It could just be that they're busy. Like they're traveling, or they're spending time with family, or they're trying to figure out finances, or they just forget. Because like when you think about it, a lot of these couples are planning weddings and elopements a year in advance. They're not in a super big hurry to hire wedding creatives. So you need to cause that hurry for them. You need to remind them like, hey, I'm still here, right? Put your ego aside and be okay with potentially sounding a little bit desperate, but you can change that through your wording that you use. And just follow up weekly, every week, until they tell you that they booked someone else, or they have their wedding. So my friends, in summary, number 1, recognize that you will get ghosted and it is just a numbers game. Number 2, respond with email and text immediately and get them on the phone same day or next day, ideally. Number 3, experiment with different opening texts. A thing I didn't mention is you can send video as an opening text. You can send audio messages as an opening text. Hell, if you don't want to text, you can ask for their Instagram and DM them on Instagram. There's no rules. You can do whatever you want, right? Anyway, change up how you do it and do it immediately. Number 4 is test different sales pipelines, whether you want to just get them on the phone immediately or you want to show pricing first or you want to talk to them first. That's up to you. Test out different things and see what works best for you. Number 5 is monitor your lead quality. If you're getting really bad, low quality leads in from other marketing sources, work on that first. That will help everything else. Number 6, set expectations on your website and increase the trust factor by showing more of your face, showing more of your personality on your website and making sure they understand the next best steps on hiring you. And number 7 is follow up, follow through, and follow back constantly. All right, my friends, hopefully you loved this. If you want to learn more about how we do sales and follow up and advertising and all of that fun stuff, you can join our coaching program down below. The link is in the description and in the show notes of the podcast. Basically, there's a video on my website. If you hit the little apply button, there's a whole video that breaks down the entire program so you can see if it's a good fit for you before you apply. And then you're going to get a full sales video if you apply before we jump on the phone. But anyway, my friends, yes, if you want to learn more, do that. And also, if you want to watch some other videos on the YouTube, subscribe. And that's it. Welcome back to the Full-Time Marketing Pro Podcast. And I will see you in the next podcast episode. Bye-bye, my friends. Have a good rest of your day.